I'd like to welcome you to our industry section of our Focus Friday morning. We have a panelists from the financial services industry, and Troy will have them introduce themselves, but I'd like to introduce you to Troy because he's our moderator. This is Troy Oldham, used to be a faculty member at the Huntsman School of Business. Now he's working for Strata and one other company.
Well, I'm also an adjunct faculty member here.
Still
too, so
adjunct, great.
Yeah.
And so we're grateful to have him here to ask the questions. As they respond to some of his questions, you're welcome to be formulating those because you'll have an opportunity to ask the panel questions as well during this hour.
So I can speak loud too.
This.
Yeah, and I think I'm mic'd up. I don't know if we're going to hear it, but great opportunity to be here. I sit in this room and I look at Dean Anderson, and I remember when I was here working with the Huntsman School of Business, how this was a vision of the dean and of the leadership executives. And every time I walk in this building, Doug Anderson, I'm so just impressed. And you've just got to be so proud of this facility. I've had a chance to see some of the great universities in the country, and you guys, I hope you realize what you have here. This is pretty incredible. So it's an honor for me to be here today. And when they asked me, I said, now I'm just a marketing guy. Okay, I'm just a marketing and sales guy, and I'm not a financial person. So, but I have worked with a lot of great financial leaders. So hopefully I can help with the moderation of this panel. And I think the best way to get this started is really to have our guests lead off and give an introduction to themselves. And then this is your session. So ask your questions. I hope you come prepared with some questions. If not, we have a few to prime. But I think the best way to do this is let's start off with introductions. So how about? Yep.
Sean Nielsen with Farm Bureau Financial Services. Kind of background how I got into it. When I was in college, I was studying finance. I wanted to do something in the industry. Started working for a Farm Bureau agent. Really liked it, liked what we did well, and then I got my own agency. I've had that about 3 years now.
My name is Matthew Jacob. I'm Assistant Agency Manager with Farm Bureau Financial Services. I came over from Farmers Insurance prior to this, and I had been with Edward Jones prior, directly out of college. Studied finance and really wanted to get into brokerage and financial services. I kind of like the additional avenues that we offer by kind of being an all-encompassing brand, having anything from auto and home insurance and more to the investment side as well. So it's kind of opens up more doors. So I really like that from where I started.
Great. My name is Brady Murray. I'm the President and CEO of MassMutual Intermountain West. I'm also a proud alumni of Utah State University and Huntsman School of Business. So I actually got my start into the industry as an intern at Utah State my junior and senior year.
Troy Matthews. I'm with a group called Allegis Financial Partners, which is a regional group in Utah, Idaho, Oregon, Washington. I did an undergrad in family finance and then came up here for an MBA and emphasis in financial planning. Got to take some courses from Vance.
You guys will just pass this around. Okay, great. Yeah, I've been in the business for 6 years, and yeah, that's it.
My name's Eric Hadfield. I'm with Northwestern Mutual. Born and raised here in River Heights, so I'm an Aggie through and through, and been with Northwestern Mutual. I started as an intern, and have been with them for almost 7 years now, and oversee our Logan office here in Utah.
Okay, thank you. I think you guys can keep it and pass it around if you want. I'm mic'd up. I think maybe why don't we open the discussion with just a general question of each of the panelists. What is a typical day like in your industry? What is your part of financial services, and what do you do on a daily basis that you can help these guys understand a little bit more about financial services?
Yeah, so basically, I guess my day, we've got a few different salespeople working for us and an assistant. So kind of come in. I normally will run 3 or 4 meetings in the day, sitting down with people, going over their world, looking at their assets, their income, where they're at financially, where their future plans are, make sure that they're protected the right way on the insurance side, make sure that they're doing the things they need to reach their future financial goals. So Farm Bureau, we're really focused on that risk management. definitely we follow up on people on the phone, so there's a lot of using the phone, and then just helping my team be successful as well when they meet with people.
I guess my role is substantially different than the agent position. I'm more in a recruitment and training position where we look for people that want to be in the financial services and insurance industry. We pride ourselves in a lot of joint work, so it's not something that we just kind of throw people to the wolves. I mean, you certainly learn a lot while you're in school, but I mean, as far as real world experience, we like to go out with people for their first 30 appointments or so. I mean, there's not a set magic number that we go out there with. So we do a lot of joint work out in the field with people just to make sure they're comfortable with both their product knowledge and the presentation. I mean, we like to really sell through education, so it's a little bit more of an advanced process than you're going to get. You know, we don't try to quote apples to apples, and we're not all about saving people 15% or more in 15 minutes or less or what have you. So it's kind of a two-step thing. It's more of a support role and then also recruiting and training. So
I actually don't have a lot to add to that. I think you guys did a great job summing up what a typical day in financial services professional looks like. So anything you guys want to add?
Yeah, get to meet with a lot of fun, interesting people, see all sorts of different scenarios, learn about different businesses, what they're trying to do, and what their goals are. So that's what we do.
I think that's the funnest thing is the relationships you make with people and the people you get to work with, whether they end up doing anything or not, is knowing their story and what's important to them and helping them achieve what they want to do. To me, that's the greatest thing that we get to do is that client relation that we have.
One thing I would add that is just a thought, you don't have any office hours. You get into the office when you want to get in the office. You go home when you want to go home. You want to take a week off, take a week off. And I remember my first year in the business, I took the entire month of December off and traveled to Peru with my wife. And I didn't have to ask anybody to do it. I just did it. And so that's one of the things I really enjoy about the industry.
That's great. One of the questions that I get asked a lot by students is, how do I get into this career? How do I get into this industry? Any thoughts and suggestions for the students? Like, how do they get into doing what you guys are doing? And it sounds like maybe different pathways. So,
Yeah, the way I got into it, and I still actually do it. In fact, John here, one of your members, and Jake, he used to work for me. John's worked for me in the past. That's the best way that I found. You can get in without taking a lot of risk. You can see what it's about. The pay is really competitive. That's kind of the route that I took. I worked for another agent. I'm like, hey, I really like this. It's really hard to get a whole picture of what you do in, probably one panel, but that's the way that I did it, is working for someone and just seeing the process and being actually in an agency while I went to school. And I think it counted as an internship for me and all that kind of stuff as well.
the main thing that I can say I would recommend to anybody considering financial services is make sure to make your rounds, talk to more than one company. I'll be the first to tell you we'll probably all be interested in talking to somebody that has an interest in this field, and find the right fit. I mean, every company's going to be a little bit different. Find something that means something to you, whether that's going to be, the company's values, maybe that's going to be work-life balance, maybe that's going to be a product array. It really depends. Find the right fit for you, and I mean, ask lots of questions. I mean, everybody's going to, give you their presentation, their song and dance, what have you. But I mean, really ask the questions that mean something to you. I mean, don't ask the questions that we want to hear. Ask the questions that really mean something to you, because this is going to be, anybody that's considering this as a future, this is a career. I mean, the first year in this business is going to be every bit as hard as anything you'll ever do the rest of your life. I can promise you that. But I mean, what we're here for is to represent probably one of the best career paths there is long term. And I mean, I wholeheartedly believe that. So.
I would say join the culture, not the company. And so I preface that in saying MassMutual is a Fortune 500 company, number 74. Our firm manages $1.3 billion in assets in Utah. And I would say that has very little to do with your success. I would say that the mentors, the people that you would get to surround yourself with on a daily basis, that's what you should be looking for when you're choosing a company. So choose the culture, not the company.
Yeah, to second what Brady said, when I was in your guys' position, I went to something very similar to this, and it was a series of lectures, and over, I just kept hearing the same thing. Don't worry about where you're going to be living, necessarily exactly what you're going to be doing, how much money you're making. Look for somebody that you want to emulate professionally and just as a person. Find a mentor. And so for me, that's what I looked for. One of those for me was Brady Murray when I started out, and several others. And so that's what you want to find. Culture is huge. There's two things you need to ask yourself when you're looking into this career. And the first question is you want to figure out if this is a career for you. Because really, it's maybe a fit for 5% of the population. It's not a normal career. It just isn't. Not most people can't deal with what it takes to manage your time in such a way to take a month off and still have a livelihood when you come back, right? So there's some elements there that it's just not meant for everybody. And so you got to figure out if it's right for you, and then two, where that right fit is. And that will take out a lot of the poor success rate that we experience in this industry, is because a lot of the time we get people into the industry that shouldn't be there in the first place, and then they're in the wrong culture or the wrong system.
Yeah, again, just to continue what they've said, I think there's two economies that kind of exist in the workforce. There's the time and energy, and then the opportunity. This is certainly an opportunity one, and when you get a time and energy, and that would be someone, hey, I'm going to clock in, I'm going to do my work, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to do a great job. But they like that structure, they like that environment. And then there's the people that are opportunistic that, hey, that environment kind of, they feel enclosed, they feel like they can't break out, and it can be frustrating, and so they thrive in the opportunity environment. I think this is certainly an opportunity environment. You have to be really good at managing your schedule. You have to be really good at getting, I guess, knocked down and the ability to stand back up and keep going. So the way I entered the career is through the internship. Northwestern Mutual has had an internship since 1979, and our success rate with interns going full-time is much higher than career changers. So that's the way that I was involved or got involved. Knew I wanted to do this, as has kind of been said, found an environment that I liked and ran with it.
Let's kind of go off of this question too. What are some of the entry-level jobs in the industries, or even in your own companies, that they could learn a bit more about what this is like?
Speak to that, Troy. What you're going to find is that there's really a couple different ways in which you can approach this. And so you just have to ask yourself, are you more of a support, or are you more of a president or a CEO, right? And so many times I see individuals that come and will ask for an interview with our organization, and really what they're looking for is an analyst position. And so they have a desire to be able to go and work more as a support help to a CFP or to another financial advisor and help them with their clientele and do the back office stuff, with the intention that for 5 years, 6 years, they're going to do that, and then someday they'll take over a book of business. And that's a fantastic way to be able to approach the industry. You learn a great mentorship. You learn a great deal about the industry by doing that, because you're surrounding yourself with some experienced individuals. On the other hand, there's the individual that doesn't have the patience for that. The thought of working 5 or 6 years for somebody and just being in somebody's shadow would drive them crazy, that they want to be the president and the CEO in 5 or 6 years, not just getting started in 5 or 6 years. And so what you'll find with our companies here, those individuals that are more geared towards being that president, so to speak, that's typically how you want to get started, is with one of our companies. If you're more of I really want to have the safety, security, the back office support, then you probably want to look more on the analyst side, more of a junior advisor or a paraplanner.
Are there any other input on it? What about questions from you guys? What have you guys? Did you come prepared with some questions? Yeah, go ahead.
At least from a flexibility standpoint, do you find that you get micromanaged a lot in your positions? Or do you have a lot of opportunity to solve your own problems?
Yeah, no, I'd say not micromanaged at all, at least as far as once you're an agent. I'm my own company that I'm contracted with, Farm Bureau. Very little micromanaging. You've got to be very good at being self-motivated, self-driven, handle your schedule. You know, it's great to be able to take off a month, but there's definitely people who get in and they take all the time off and suddenly they're out in 6 months. You know, it's definitely a career you get out what you put in, but very little. I don't think they've ever told me to do anything. I sent an email once that they got mad at me about. That's it, you know. So.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I have little to no micromanaging at all. I mean, maybe can you show up to this event on a Friday? But that's about the extent of it, to be honest. I mean, it's kind of a curse and a blessing. I mean, I'm somebody that absolutely loves to have the freedom and flexibility to run my business the way I seem fit. And I mean, that's something that I think this career as a whole, don't look at this as a position. It's not a position. It's not a job. It's really more of an entrepreneur spirit. It's starting your own business. It's starting your own business with the support of a large company. So, I mean, it's not you going to the bank or other lending sources and borrowing sizable amounts of money, starting your own business with a huge debt load or things of that nature. So it's more of a segue into running your own business. So it's certainly something that needs to be treated as such.
Here's a thought for you. So I just read a book. It's called Relentless, From Good to Great to Unstoppable. It's about the coach of Michael Jordan and Dwayne Wade. There's another famous, or Kobe Bryant. It's their personal coach. And so I would submit to you that a good financial advisor allows themselves to be held accountable. Okay, so I think that's probably another word for micromanagement, right? A good advisor allows themselves to be held accountable. A great advisor demands to be held accountable. Okay, so think of Michael Jordan, think of Kobe Bryant, think of Dwayne Wade, arguably some of the best, if not the single best basketball players of all time. Hiring this guy that wrote this book to hold them accountable to do the things that they need to be a better basketball player, okay? And so that's a unique proposition when you think of all the flexibility that you have as a financial advisor. And so many times we as entrepreneurs push away accountability. Think if you take the opposite approach and you demand it, that you go out seeking it, and that you find individuals to hold you accountable. I think there's some similarities there.
Yeah, when I was new, I had there was a period of time where I noticed that my productivity was not progressing the way that I wanted it to, and so I went and told my manager at the time. I said, "Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to hit these levels of productivity every single week, and if I don't, for every week that I don't do that, I have to give you $100." Now, for me at the time, $100 was a lot of money. Okay, I was new in the business, but what did that do? Right, it put my back up against the wall, and I had to go and do it. So, I was kind of trying to get that accountability and make sure that that was something that was driving me. And now, what that is, like for today, I needed to ask permission to come here, but once my wife said it was okay and that I could go to Peach Days later, we were good to go, right? So.
Okay. Other questions? Very good question. Any other questions for panel? What are some of the biggest challenges that you face in the industry right now? What are some of the things that keep you up at night as business owners and as CEOs of your own company?
I'll start. I think, and this was something I was concerned about coming into this industry when I started. There's not a real high wall that you've got to hurdle to get into this business. And in fact, I heard something when I was new. Brady, if it was you that told me this, I'm apologizing for not giving you credit. I'm giving you credit now in case you did say it. But I heard that it actually takes more time and licensing to cut hair in the state of Utah than it does to be a financial planner. Now, if you're actually a financial planner, you have your CFP designation, and that's entirely different, right? And there's other designations as well that take you above and beyond. But in general, there is a problem with overall competency in some of the financial planning that's being done. And so what that does is sometimes that creates a negative image towards financial advising. People have a bad experience, got involved in a Ponzi scheme, whatever it was, and now they're really hesitant to trust people. I think that's a hurdle, but it also becomes a really good opportunity, because when you do things the right way, when you show value, when you take people's goals and you treat their finances as sacred funds that they have worked really hard for, and you become the caretaker, you become the custodian of that money, and you're just helping them accomplish their goals, it instills trust and creates a relationship that's hard to break. But I think that's something that slowly over time is changing. We're not always making those changes the right way, and sometimes you have different regulatory bodies trying to force those changes. But in general, that's one that you can kind of get ahead of the curve now, and instead of just coming into this business in your 40s or 50s and being a career changer, you can get the education, you can start becoming that professional now so that you are doing things the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. The one that, gosh, every morning I wake up with a pit in my stomach. I think of any professional services, whether it's an attorney, an accountant, dentist, doctor. At the end of the day, they're successful based off of their clientele or their patient base. We have no idea if our dentist is the best dentist in the U.S., in the world. But we go to them because of a relationship, and he's successful if they have clientele or patients. I think that's the hard thing in this business is it's grueling at first. I think everyone's kind of said that. It's an incredible opportunity. I can't think of any better, but it's tough, and the majority of people fail. And your success will come from your ability to attract and retain clientele and do a good job, as has been said. And I think one of the biggest struggles that people have is complacency, because you'll reach a point where you no longer need to go in every day to support your family and your lifestyle. You'll reach a point where you're very comfortable, and continuing to push through and find someone and a coach that can hold you accountable so you can really reach your potential or beyond what you feel is your potential, I think is important, and a challenge that of overcoming that complacency.
There's one thing I would add to that, and so I don't know if anybody's followed this, but on a national scale, this affects financial planning very, very heavily, and it's called the Department of Labor Fiduciary Standard. And so we've been lobbying against this as an industry for years now, over a decade, and this actually just passed. And if you're going to ask Brady Murray's opinion on it, I couldn't be happier. And I'll tell you why. So this is a little bit of a soapbox, and it gets me a little bit riled up to think about this, but it drives me crazy, right, to the point that Troy made, that somebody has to jump through more hurdles to cut hair than to do financial planning. I think that's BS. I think that's absolutely wrong. And so I will say that that's firm dependent. Some firms are very particular about the individuals that they're bringing into their organization. Other firms are less particular about that, and that's okay. But what this DOL fiduciary standard is going to do is it's going to eliminate the riffraff, and it's going to take out the ability for anybody to become a financial planner, and it is going to hold all financial advisors to a fiduciary standard, which all CFPs are already held to a fiduciary standard, and it's going to level the playing field. Okay, it's going to level the playing field. So in the end, I think there'll be some blood and carnage in the beginning, but in the end, it will be a very positive step for the industry.
Any other comments on that? Guys, other questions? Yeah, please.
As someone who doesn't know a lot about finances, when do you think someone should go to a financial advisor for their individual finances, and what do you think they should learn to manage those most effectively?
That's a great question.
Yeah. So I graduated in accounting from Utah State, and I am so proud to say I have never filed my own taxes, ever. Why? Why do you think I haven't? So I have a degree in accounting, yet I've never done my own taxes, even when I was a student. Okay, why is that? Yes, sir.
Helps you to focus on other things and let someone else do that for you.
That's right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so if you think about that, there are incredibly talented CPAs and individuals that know the tax code and know strategic planning as it relates to taxes better than I ever will. And so it costs me $1,500 to pay a CPA to do my taxes every single year. But think about the value that that adds to me to enable me to, number one, focus on other things, not my taxes. And number two, to have an expert, a professional, handle something that's very important. Now, did you know that most individuals spend more time planning their family vacation than they do planning their family's financial future, than doing their financial planning? And it's just an awareness thing. So I would say the best time to get started in working with a competent financial planner was yesterday. Okay, and so you can't ever start too early. When's the best time to start exercising, right? When's the best time to start saving money? When's the best time to be able to start treating your kids better, right? It was yesterday. So great question.
And I think, add to that, oftentimes we fall into the mindset of looking at the cost of what it will take for the service instead of looking at the costs of the mistakes not made. Vanguard, they're a big brokerage firm. They have a lot of funds. They do index funds, and index funds means they're unmanaged. So you could go buy Vanguard funds. And Vanguard put out an 18-page paper called the Alpha Advisor. And it says that the difference of having an advisor and not is 3% bigger rate of return in favor of the advisor. And it wasn't because the advisor is greater at selecting funds and portfolio management. It was having that person there that has had the experience, that knows how to do it, that isn't emotionally attached to the money, that is coaching you along the way. And so, yeah, I think that, to Brady's point, yesterday's the best time. I don't think it is too early.
There was a question over here. Yeah.
I just wanted to know, what do you think your unique trainings are for your company? What do you bring to the table that would make me want to work for you? What's unique about your company?
Yeah, one of the things I really liked about Farm Bureau, and the unique thing is we do a lot of different things. So as far as when we sit down with people and go over their world, the training, we're looking at not just, saving for the future, but also the risk management on the insurance side, your home, auto. I mean, people don't really think about a lot of those different things, but there was a car wreck up here a few years ago, right out here on this highway, that we paid out $970,000 on that claim. So just even that, if he hadn't sat down with someone and looked at his assets and done things the right way. So as far as Farm Bureau, I think the thing that I really like about is we're looking at everything. We're looking at their income, their assets, and then helping them manage and finding out what they're worried and concerned about and helping them manage those different risks. Because everyone's at different places, at different times in life. And so that's the thing that I really like about Farm Bureau's approach.
I'd say, to add to that, just like had been mentioned earlier, there's several different paths depending on somebody's interest. If somebody really wants to dive all in, we have agent routes, and that's something that we kind of do through kind of a part-time basis at first, because the last thing that we want, unfortunately, as has been discussed, this is a tough industry. It's not for everybody, so we kind of allow somebody to dip their feet in the industry, kind of get a feel for if this is the right fit for them without doing necessarily a full leap in hopes that this is the right thing, going full force, going full-time, things of that nature. So we kind of allow them to sample the industry and see if this is the right thing for you. You can have all the qualities, all the education, everything that you think it's going to be, but if you are scared to death of a telephone, you probably don't realize that you're scared to death of the telephone until you actually get on it and try that. Or if you're scared to knock on someone's door or talk to a complete stranger, that's something, unfortunately, that, we can certainly assist you and we're there for you. We'll go out in the field with you, but we can't make the phone calls for you. So, it's kind of allows you to sample the industry without making it a full-time. Or if it's something that you really want a mentor role with and kind of have a slower entrance into the industry, that's certainly something that's doable as well. So I like the fact that there's multiple ways to get into this industry.
I love the saying that the sum of unmet expectations equals disappointment. And so we like to make sure that all of our associates that want to be a part of our organization have a clear understanding of our expectations. And I'll follow that phrase up with, it's one thing to play Major League Baseball, but it's a whole nother to play for the New York Yankees. The New York Yankees hold their players to a higher standard and expectation. It's more so their fans, right, than any other Major League Baseball team or sports franchise, arguably, in the entire world. But there's not another sports franchise that has more world championships than the New York Yankees. And so within our organization, the promise that we would have for you is that if you had the opportunity to be a part of our organization, that I personally and our team would push you harder than you had ever been pushed before in your life, and that you will reach a potential both on and off the field. As a professional, you'll be the best professional that you could possibly become, but we'll also push you to be the best husband or father, the best mother or wife, and the best community leader that you can possibly become. That's not good for everybody, right? It's not something that everybody wants to sign up for. But from our standpoint, we believe in high expectations, and we believe in holding our associates accountable to achieve their very best self, both on and off the field.
Yeah, our group, we're not a national brand, right? We don't advertise on the Super Bowl or in arenas or anything like that. But, our firm, we have 55-ish, somewhere around there, advisors, full-time between Utah, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington, and I know every single one of them. I've been on family vacations with their families. We go up to cabins and spend time together. I know their kids know my kids, our wives know each other. It's a very intimate feel. Now, some people don't want that, and that's fine. But some people want to feel like they're not only a part of something and a part of something bigger than themselves, but they also have a voice in that something. And I've always felt like in our organization that I've even when I was new, I felt like I wasn't a part of something so big that my voice and my opinion didn't matter. And that was important to me because I had a lot of opinions when I came out of college, whether they were right or not. But I felt like my voice was always heard, and that I was able to develop relationships where I have more of a team feel than I thought was possible in a very individualistic business. At the end of the day, it all rides on you with how your business performs, really. And so to be in that environment but have a very team feel is something that's pretty unique that I hope I don't take for granted in our situation, but it's something that I feel like, I don't know if it's unique to just our company with everybody here, but I feel like it's one of the reasons why I love the company I'm with.
Yeah, I think that now this stat's a couple years old, but I know that it used to cost $1 million to open a McDonald's franchise. And I gave you the right to put the yellow arches out front, and it gave you the green book that was more or less the McDonald's way. And 98% of McDonald's succeed. And that doesn't mean they're able to retain open. That means they're successful turning profit. And in our industry, it's a 92% failure rate. Meaning if you were to switch into becoming a financial advisor, there's a 92% chance you will not be doing that in 3 years. Only 8% make it. And I think to that point, I came through our internship, and that's one of the things Northwestern Mutual's done, is they've done an internship since 1979. It's been viewed as a top 10 internship for 20 years. They're the only company that can say that. And we can take our interns and turn them full time, and we'd have a 57% chance. So that odd goes from 8 to 57. I think that's to that point of getting into this business, kind of the competitive advantage it's that track record and being able to do it.
I have a question, and as I'm listening to all of you guys talk, and maybe it's because I'm a salesperson by training as well. Sales seems to be a big part of what you do in building your business and building your book of business and interacting even with your employees. How important is is sales training, and what kind of sales training did you pick up? Because I can tell you're obviously all successful, and you are all very good salespeople. So maybe some comments on that as either a career path or training or being able to do something here even at the Huntsman School. There is a new technical sales minor that is here. In fact, Dr. Bone is the one who's organized that. What are your thoughts on that?
Sorry, I'll jump in. Sales in general kind of has a negative connotation, and it's interesting. I came and helped judge for the what was that called, the Griffin Hill sales competition. And I remember one of the kids coming up, and if he's here, I apologize, but he's like, so financial advising, what does that have to do with sales? And I remember thinking, that's probably because we don't really call it a sales profession, because we like to think of ourselves as financial advisors, right? Which, is that a large part of what we do? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, what is sales, right? It's trying to help educate people in such a way where they have the knowledge to act in a way that betters their situation, okay? Or accomplishes a goal. And that's what we do. Our entire process is sales-oriented. From the moment you make a contact to a referral, to the moment you're trying to get them to invest money, buy a product, whatever it is all sales and educating people in such a way that they can act in their own best interest. And that's it. And understanding that is a really good paradigm shift to have. Because if you come into this business just thinking that you get to be like the doctor and sit down with people and just advise them, and then they hand you a check on the way out, you'll have a very rude awakening to this business. It is a sales, it's a hard driving business. Now, that having been said, you have to have unquestionable integrity to come into this business, or you should. And so that dynamic is hard to find, right? It'd be really easy for us to just go down and talk to all the Vivint sales guys. No offense against Vivint. No, I won't say Vivint. Summer sales guys, okay? But you might be getting people that might not be good for the industry or for people. If all they're doing is the hard driving sales, you have to have that component of integrity.
On the sales thing, so I said that I had graduated in accounting, and I actually just wrote an article about this that says what are the best degrees to go into if you want to be a financial planner. So who would guess, if you wanted to be a CFP, what's the best degree that you could study, that you could focus on? Yes, sir.
Marketing.
Good. What else?
Marketing and sales.
Yeah, for sure. If I could do it all over again, if I was a student at the Huntsman School right now, accounting was amazing. It's actually an incredible background and great degree, but I would absolutely do marketing, and with an emphasis on professional sales. And so if you guys don't believe me or believe Troy in saying that everything in life is sales, you don't have very many kids yet, right? And so I have 5 children, and I find myself trying to sell them on the concept of doing a lot of things, from cleaning their room to not beating on each other to just being responsible citizens. And so sales are a big part of what we do, no question.
Yeah, on the sales, and one of the things, I've been in sales for a long time. I actually did the summer sales one summer, and a few other things that way. But one thing that I found out is I liked sales, but I wanted something that I could definitely believe in the product. And this is something that you can definitely believe. You're helping people. When you're selling to them, it's something that you can feel good about when you go home and go to sleep at night. And I really love that. As far as training, they do a great job training. In my office with my sales guys, we do training almost on a daily basis on just different things. Like, people said this, what are some different things that we can do to help those people out? Focusing on the things that are important to them and make sure that we're doing things the right way. So I think the integrity thing, it really goes back to that. And that's one of the great things. If you have integrity, this is a great industry to be in, and to be in sales, because you're selling something that is going to make a big impact on their lives, on their future, as long as you're doing the right things for the right reasons, I guess.
Other questions? Yeah.
Do all of your companies offer internships? And if they do, what do they look like?
That's a great question.
Yes. I think so. I don't know about these guys. We definitely offer internships. We have different positions available. I think like the one that I did was basically you get licensed. I was just licensed in property and casualty to start off with, but I worked under, another agent who did everything. We're taught a lot of the similar type ways that they're going to meet with people. I mean, you can't meet with everybody on everything, but it's a really good into the initial industry. And so, yeah, we do offer internships.
We definitely offer internships, but probably quite a bit different than maybe what your traditional internship would be. Think of, it's college football season right now. Think of the blue chip prospect that went to Preston, Idaho, graduated as an Indian, right? Because there's a lot that come out of Preston, Idaho, right? You guys probably guessed where I went to high school. No, I'm just kidding. So, no, I really did though. So, blue chip recruit in Preston, Idaho, and he's a junior, and he's an incredible, let's say, baseball player. It's very common for universities to offer a full-time scholarship, so a full ride scholarship to an individual who's still in high school, who's a junior in high school. Now, can the University of Florida just go and do that across the nation for everybody? Probably not, right? And so they have to be very selective in the individuals with whom they're offering this scholarship. And that's the approach that we take with our internship. And so we do a lot of interviews for individuals that are sophomores, juniors, or going into their senior year in college with the intention that we are interviewing individuals that we will ultimately offer a full-time position to upon graduation. And if we find a blue chip recruit, so to speak, and we offer them our full-time position upon graduation, guess what we want to do between now and graduation? Is we want to prepare them to play Division I football. Right? We want to prepare them to be able to do that. And so we take a select group of interns that are juniors and seniors, and we take them through much of our training program so that when they graduate, they are head and shoulders above the rest. So that's our internship.
Yeah, our situation, we don't really call it an internship, but we do something very similar to what Brady does. Thanks. But it's not, it's not like a come try it out for 3 months during the summer kind of thing. It's more of a, let's do some education, let's do some training, let's bring you into the office, let's have you be a part of what we're doing, let's do some case studies, do some simulation stuff of what this business is like and see how you respond. How do you like it? How do we like how you respond to it? And kind of go through that, simulation of what it's like to be in this business, and similar. We try and start working on that when people still have some time before they graduate, because most people will make up their mind, whether for right or wrong, about what they want to do career-wise by the time they're close to the end of their junior year. And a lot of the time, that senior year is about getting ready for that career, and that's great. That's fantastic. But we want to make sure that people have enough information, that we know enough about them and they know enough about this business and about our firm to make that decision pretty early on, so that it's not, well, I'm graduating and I think I'm just now realizing this isn't the right thing, or us telling them, hey, we really like you, but this probably isn't for you. We want to simulate as much as possible, and it's really hard to do. It is. I mean, that's why even after the internship and everything, it's still 57%. I mean, that's still, those odds just aren't great, right? And that's across the board, okay? It's just really hard to simulate what this business is like. And so we try and do that as much as possible and give some real world type experience. And then we kind of have, to go back to the football analogy, we kind of have a preseason that we work on with people before the regular season actually starts. And a lot of the time people might be transitioning away from school or away from another part-time job during that period of time before we cut it down to the 52-man roster, right? So.
Yeah, as you kind of heard, this is an unbelievable career. I think it's the best there is. No offense to everybody else in the room. I think it's the greatest career there is. And that's really what the internships are for, is to give you a taste and surround you with a team that will give you every fighting chance to make to give yourself a chance to be able to do it. I think that's sum up the internship.
Probably have time for another question. Yeah. Sorry.
So, as someone who's seriously thinking about getting into the industry, what tips can you have for if you were to go back and start all over, how would you be able to, because obviously it's tough getting into it, you've made that very clear. What could you do differently, or should you have done differently, or things we could do to make that slightly less painful?
I'll start. I thought I'd be a really good business owner until I was a business owner. And it turns out I wasn't as structured. When you see somebody who's successful, generally they're very purposeful in life. They wake up earlier than most people. They get to the gym. They're very purposeful and very driven. And I, unfortunately, when I was in school, was the sweatshirt, barely show up on time, hopefully was there through the end of class. And just, I wasn't as purposeful as I would have. And I'd say one of the things I wish I could do is go back and kind of say, hey, in the next 5 years, 3 years, 1 year, this is where I want to be, and begin structuring my life to accomplish that and start living with purpose and aligning my actions to where I wanted to be. And as I said, I don't know if that's done in the classroom. I think that's a personal decision. It's like, this is what I want, and I'm gonna start aligning my life to that. That's what I would go back and change, is I would have dressed nicer. I would have woken up earlier. I would have been the first one to class. I would have taken better notes. Just more purpose in life than just being there, I guess.
The one thing that I would do, and this is another thing that I learned from Brady, is I would have started reading more about things that can just make me a better person. And that's something that I've really latched onto over the past several years and has made a huge difference. Just, in a lot of areas of my practice, my business, my life. Just reading and learning from good books, but then applying what you learn from those.
I would say part of the transition process, and like we said, the success ratio of people in this industry, obviously, it's a tough industry. I don't care what company or what product you sell. It all is very similar, and it's all because of customer acquisition. You could be the best salesperson in the world, but if you talk to 3 people a month, you're probably not going to do too well. You could have the worst product and the worst presentation, but if you talk to 1,500 people a month, you're probably going to be pretty darn successful. So, it all comes back to numbers. But I would say, as far as starting success ratio, really dive in deep to the compensation structure of whatever position you look at taking on. Look for the company that's really there to support. I know the company that I work with now, we have a compensation model that's for your first 5 years going into the industry, and it's something that, we, over that 5-year period, invest up to $500,000 to get your business up and going. And common in this industry is different loan programs and things of that nature, which they all have their place. You just have to find the model that works for you. You might be the person that can be on strictly commission and come out the gate running, or you might be somebody that's a little bit slower. Maybe you have a little bit more tendency to overanalyze, and you want to know every single detail about every single product that you sell. That's great quality in the long run, but that's something that's going to be a little slower out the gate. So maybe you're going to need some more help getting started. So really know some qualities about yourself and know what you need to be successful. So I'd say take your time, do your research, and that's something that I would say would lead to success down the road.
I think we're about out of time. Is that correct? Is that what it's meaning? Yeah, absolutely.
I want to say one thing, but so I apologize. We've all said this is a difficult business, and we've shared stats, and it's difficult. But you know what, guys? What in life isn't, right? So how many people said they want to be the president of the United States and actually became the president of the United States? How many people said they want to be a successful businessman, but actually went out and became a successful businessman? Whatever you do in life, just give it everything you've got. And what I'm submitting to you about this business is, if you get into this business and you put your heart and your soul into this business, This business will take care of you like no other business. If you want to make, within 10 years of graduating from Utah State University, a high six-figure, low seven-figure income and have the flexibility to absolutely go and be the dad that you want to be or the mom that you always wanted to be, this business will give that to you. And you can live in Logan, Utah to do it if you want to. Now show me another business out there in 10 years that can do that for you. And I am showing you one right now that can do that for you. This is the big if you're willing to go get it, right? If you're willing to go get it, so.
Well, I'm glad you said that last thing, because I think that's a great note to end on. Let's give our panelists a round of applause and thank them for being here.